What's up, YouTube fam? Back again for another knife build. Today we're building a Gralloch knife. They're used for processing deer, and I'll show you the design. What I do is I usually draw it out in paper, then I cut it out with a scalpel, then I'll transfer that onto the steel, and I just use a Sharpie to get around the edge to mark out where I'm cutting. So I'll just turn you around, I'll show you what I'm up to. Right, this is the steel we're using. It's SF100, which is a stainless steel. Got this from ground flat stock. They're not the cheapest, but the steel is usually pretty good. Although I did get a bit of 50mm that had some serious issues, but never mind. It's like I say, it's 3mm wide, 30mm wide this way, and 600 long. Okay, here is my template that I've just painstakingly cut out. So what I'll do is I'll put that at the end of the stock, and I'll take it in from the edges, because the edges in these stock bars are sometimes rounded. This one isn't. Well, slightly on this side maybe, but if you get the end of a sheet of steel, then it'll have a rounded edge on one side. So make sure you steer clear of that, because you don't really want that along your spine of your knife. Right, so I'll hold this down, squiggle my lines around it with a Sharpie. I just use a black Sharpie, one of them, and then I'll get the angle grinder out and I'll roughly cut it outside the line. I'll show you once I've outlined it. Okay, I've used my template, stuck it on top of the steel like you can see there, and I've just outlined it with a Sharpie. So I'm quite happy with that. Now I'll go and cut it. I won't cut any of the top here with the grinder. I'll grind that down in the belt, and when I cut this, I'll cut it just to this side of the black pen mark. Okay, so I want to leave myself a good couple of mil between where the angle grinder cuts it to my finished edge. So I'll probably cut it, if you follow the edge of my nail along here, somewhere along there like that. Keep well clear of this bit, because this is the bit that you want to keep, obviously. Same with these. I'll just cut these out, then I'll grind them down in the 2x72, and then we'll come back. I'll first cut, I'll just cut off the edge here. Then for these parts, what you do is you cut in, and then you cut at a diagonal to get it, most of it out, and then you just grind it out. I'll use my small wheel attachment for grinding out this part here. I'll use the rest of my normal platens for grinding out these bits here. Okay, so that's the second stage of the process. I'm quite looking forward to this. I've not made one of these before, so I just thought I'd give it a shot. The blade is, what size is the blade? It should be about 4 inches. Let's see what we're looking at. Yeah, it's more or less 4 inches. Maybe, yeah, close enough to 4 inches. My grind will start about here, just where it turns a corner, and it'll go up quite high for this one. I want it to have a reasonably thin edge dimension before I put my secondary bevel on the cutting edge, if you like. Okay, so I'm going to get the grinder out, annoy the neighbours, and start cutting these bits out. I'll take a slice there, I'll take a slice there, I'll probably take a slice down here, and then another one across. Might just end up grinding out this section here. And like I mentioned about these bits earlier on, you just cut in, lines in. Let me just show you my pen what I mean. You cut in like this with your grinder towards it, and then you cut diagonally to get rid of the bulk of the metal, and then you can just grind the rest of it down to the line. Obviously these cuts will be going further up, closer to the actual part of the knife that I'm needing to keep. Okay, but be very careful when you grind stuff out. The last thing you want to do is to get your grinder flipping grain marks in the blade, or that'd be just an absolute disaster. Just take your time, go canny, and you'll get there finally. You also don't want to overheat this too much, because it'll start to harden. So just be careful. Take your time, dip it in water and whatnot, and then you'll be golden. I'll put a couple of pins in here. I'm just going to put two in. I'll probably put one in round about here somewhere, and I'll probably put one in somewhere around about here. I could put a bit of tube in here for a lanyard, but I don't know if that's really needed on one of these, I'll also make sure the handle's a bright colour, because my brother's a keeper, or he was for 40 years, and that was one thing he mentioned when I made him one. I made him a different kind of processing knife, and he said, whatever you do, he says, make it a nice bright handle. He says, because I keep losing the bloody things in the hill. So that's what we'll do, and we'll get it looking beautiful. I'm not 100% in this handle shape yet. I might take a little flick up at the end there, see how it feels in the hand first, and I can always grind it down to the line, But what I'm talking about is, like, I might just come up here a bit further and then sort of swoop down to this part of the blade, but it'll be a bit, maybe more than that, it'll be a lot flipping more gradual. Right, let's go grinding. Right, here we are, outside my 2x72. I've fitted a new wheel on the top, because the other one went concave on me, which is a bit of a strange solution, but that was because it wasn't tightened up properly. Hey ho. Live and learn. So this is my work rest. This is my bit of steel that I have. What I'll do is I'll put it past the end, and then I'll clamp this on my welding clamp so it doesn't go anywhere while I grind it, while I cut it off, okay? You can hold it with your hands, but it's just more to go wrong. I'll use this belt. This is an old 40 grit belt. I've seen a lot of use, but it'll do for grinding in the edges. Don't use a new belt really. I'd rather save my new belts for grinding in the bevels and the blades. So I'll use the old one to get the outline of the knife established, and then I'll mark it up where I'm going to be grinding the bevel in, and I'll stick it in my bevel jig, which is here. It's just a bit of 90-degree stainless, and I use a clamp just to clamp the knife onto the stainless. Okay. The stainless then sits on here at 90 degrees, and then all I do is unbolt this and adjust this angle here to the angle that I need. I've got all my measurements up here for various steels. This is for 3mm thick, so if I want a bevel height of, say, 10mm, the angle I need is 7 degrees. So what I'll do is I'll use my angle finder, which is it's over here somewhere. As you can see, it's magnetic. And what I'll do is, if I can get it out of the blooming pocket and get rid of that spring, what I'll do is I'll stick it on the work rest, okay? Switch it on, obviously. And then I'll zero it, because my work rest is out by 0.3 degrees. Then once you've zeroed it, all you do is you put it onto the platen, like so. And you'll see that that's 89.5 degrees, and it should be 90. So we'll adjust that just now before we start. Okay. So this is us having cut out the rough shape. I've left this bit high, like I mentioned earlier. And I could have got a bit closer to the handle, but you're better safe than sorry. It's just a bit more grinding. This stuff's only 3mm thick, so it doesn't take much grinding, to be fair. You get a decent belt on. I maybe could have taken that edge off as well, but well, it'll grind off just as easy. Like I say, it's an old belt, so it doesn't really matter too much. What I'll do now is I'll grind it down to just the edge of this black line where my finger is here. Then we'll have the template of the knife. I'll leave this bit here till last, this finger cut out, because I'll have to change out the this platen for my small wheel attachment, which is sitting here. I've also got like a contact wheel, but I tend not to use it, to be honest. So if you're buying stuff, I maybe wouldn't bother with that. You don't really need it unless you're doing convex grinds and such like. No, I'm not. Right, I'll get this belt on the grinder, set it up to 40 hertz from 60. It's quite a high speed, and but I've got a large drive wheel, so it works out about, can't remember how many thousand feet per second, but it's enough to give you a good sting when it snaps, that's for sure. Anyway, I'll just start grinding this out, and I'll maybe show you when I've done a little bit. Right, here we are, part way through. You can see I'm getting closer to the line. You have to watch yourself if you start burning like this is, because it's an old belt and it's seen better days. The burn mark doesn't obliterate your line, but if you need to check it, just turn it over, put your paper template on it, and you'll see where you're going, you know. So I've still got the handle area to do. I kicked this up a little bit. Not sure. I think I'll just square it off to where it was originally meant to be. I mean, it maybe looks a little bit nicer, but it catches your hand, so that's no use. You need it to be comfortable in your hand whilst you're using it, because you could be using this for hours at a time, you know. Like I say, I've got a bit to go on here to get down to the black line. Around the edge there I've still to do, and I've still got this top part of the handle to finish off. I've done sort of from about here forwards. It's got a slight rise here in this area. It drops down to the tip. I'll maybe like take a little bit off of there, and I'll also take this up higher, the front of this up higher towards the point. Okay, so that's where we're at. I'm going to carry on grinding this. I'll show you once I've ground it out, and we'll do this bit here. Okay, here we are. We've got the shape pretty much knocked out now. I used my small wheel attachment on this finger choil part, and I've gone round the edges, as you can see, all the way to the end of the blade. So, I haven't actually done this end. I'll do that before I go any further. And another thing I'm going to do is I'm going to straighten out the bottom of this first section from here to here, probably. You know, sometimes it just takes you to see these things once they're done before you realise that it's not quite right and it needs a little bit of fettling, shall we say. So I'll do that. Like I say, a little bit off of this, straighten this up a little bit, and then just transition into the peak, the tip of the knife, should I say. But I'm quite happy with the shape of it. I'll drill my holes while I'm here. I've got 3mm and 6mm carbon pins or brass pins. I just buy 3 and 6mm. It does pretty much everything. Not sure what size I'll use in these. I might just use the smaller ones, to be fair. I'll see which handle I'm going to use. Another thing I do is once I've gone round the outline on the grinder, like so, you know, like round all the edges and everything else, what I'll do is I'll stick it flat in the platen like this, and then turn it around, and it gets rid of all the burrs around the edges where you've been grinding. Okay, and you get a nice flat surface to work off. So a little bit more fettling here, but it feels quite nice in the hand, which is most important. You know, I've got massive hands, so that's why it maybe looks slightly on the short side, but believe me, it's not for most people. In fact, it's not really for me either. I could still easily use that as as a instrument, a tool, because that's what they are, tools. I'm also going to round this bit off here between the finger and the blade. Needs a slight edge off because that's digging in. You can feel it, and I can feel it in my finger when I'm holding the knife. But that's what you need to do. You need to just like grab a hold of it and see how it fits before you go any further and make it even worse. You know, if you put handles on that and then to grind it all back, it'll be a lot harder. It's easier just to do it at this stage, so I'll just do that. Might not look as good because I do quite like a transition between the finger choil and the rest of the handle, but I'll just round off the edge very slightly. It's amazing how much a couple of millimetres in the grinder can affect the entire shape of the knife, you know. It's until you've done it, it's honestly, it's unbelievable. So one of the things I like about knife making as well, you know, it doesn't take much to make a mess of it, as I have on previous occasions, quite a number of times. But yes, I'm quite happy with it. So yeah, I can feel that digging in there, so a bit off of this, straighten up the blade, and then we'll come back and drill some holes. Okay, there we go. That's final shape that I'm happy with. You can see I've softened this stop out a bit, and I've also straightened the first part of the blade out. Hold it against something that you can maybe get a better idea. Well, you can see the outline out there. It's looking better to me. I'm quite happy with that now. So what I'll do is get a couple of pinholes in it. I've rounded these corners off as well a little bit more, and now it feels very comfortable in the hand. I would say it's pretty much perfect, so that's good. A couple of holes. I've decided I'm going to the 3mm pins. I might put 3 of them in. We'll see. It's easier to line up 2 than it is 3, but sometimes if it looks better, you just have to go with what you feel looks better. So again, like what I've done is I've taken it down the edge of the platen like so, both ways, handle as well, and it's now nice and shaped, shall we say. So I'm going to put this in the drill press, which is over here. This is my drill. It is I can't remember what make it is actually, but it's an old one. Let me just get down here and see if I can squeeze my fat arse round and see. It's a Meddings drill, highly recommended. Don't buy a new one, they're shit. Get yourself a second-hand old one. I mean, just look at that plate, right? That is solid. If that landed on you, it would kill you, stone dead. Whereas the new ones will just get thin, shitty little things that'll bend and flex all over the place. This thing will not move. It's a brilliant drill. It cost me a lot of money, but it's one of the best investments I've made, in my honest opinion. I know it's not got all the fancy bells and whistles. It's got various speeds you can adjust up the top there. I usually leave it in the low speed for drilling steel, and use good bits as well. Use cobalt bits, or you'll suffer basically, especially if you're trying to drill through like blades that have been hardened. It just won't happen. So, but you're better drilling the holes before you send it away for heat treatment. This will be sent away to Graham Clark. I'm hoping for a 61 HRC on the Rockwell scale to come back to me, and I'll make sure I leave at least a millimetre on the edge here. If you leave it too thin, it can affect the heat treatment and it can warp the actual blade, so we don't want that after putting all this work in, do we? So I'll stick a couple of pinholes in, measure the centres. I'm just going to put 2 in, I think. I'll put one just above the finger choil, one back here somewhere. That'll do fine. And then we'll be ready to grind in the bevel. Okay, with this knife I've decided to go with 3 holes. So we'll have 3 pins, and what I'll also do is I'll drill a couple of slightly larger holes between these, and what that'll do is it'll help the adhesive to stick, and it'll also reduce a bit of weight off the knife. The knife isn't heavy, to be fair, so you could get away without doing that, I'm sure, but I'll just do it to help the adhesive. That's a 3mm hole. I'll probably use like a 5 or something, one of my drills that I don't use very often, and stick a few holes in there just to help the adhesive. Okay, I've drilled the holes in the knife handle. I haven't put one in the front because the scales are actually going to come to about here. So, and it'll also be the scales will be quite narrow at the front, so I don't really want the possibility of, you know, I don't want it too close. That'll be fine where we have there. We've got a couple of holes in between. And what I'll do now is what I always do with steel when I'm drilling holes is use a countersink on all of them. And it just takes any burrs or edges off. And it also makes it easier for when you're fitting your pins later on. Okay, so I'll get the countersinks done. Then I'm going to have my lunch. And then after lunch, I'll mark out where I want these bevels to be. And like I say, this is a 3mm thick blade, so I'll grind 1mm off each side, which will leave 1mm in the middle, which will keep Mr. Clark happier. And then we'll be ready to send it off for heat treatment. Right, so I've sharpied on roughly where I want to come to pre-heat treat, and that'll mean that post-heat treat, this line will come up probably between here and the top. I'm not going full height on a grind like this. I'll go maybe just past the line. I'll maybe stop it just short of the line. It'll all depend on the edge thickness as I grind. Yeah. So I've marked it on both sides. Made a arse of this one the first time, so ignore the top line. It's a mistake. So that's my guide. It'll help me as I grind, see how close I'm getting to it, But like I say, the edge geometry is most important. I need to leave 1mm and it needs to be in the middle. So what I'll do is I'll scribe this edge here with my Sharpie. I'll mark a line right the way down it. And then I'll get a 1.5mm drill, put it on my surface plate. And I'll use the drill lying on its side like so. And what I'll do is I'll just pull the knife along the drill and it'll leave a perfect scribe mark in the centre. And I can judge 0.5mm off that centre line as I grind. So that's today's entertainment. Like I say, I'm away to have my lunch, and then in the afternoon I'll grind this bevel, and then it's off for heat treat. I've got a few others off for heat treatment. I'll show you them. This one here, this is out of some scrap steel that I had. And there's another. This is a little skinning knife I made. I really like it. I put some jimping on the end so that if you're skinning a deer or whatever, you'll be able to get some purchase on it with your finger as you're like pulling through, It's just got a plain old handle. Like I say, these 4 knives were made up of steel that I had left over. This one here is another. These will get a drop point on them. I'm not sure if I like it, to be honest, so what I might do is, with one of them, anyway, I think I marked it up. Yeah, I marked it up there. I might just round that point off, I mean, it'll still be a useful knife. It'll still be perfectly fine. It just won't look the same. Because like I say, I'm not sure if I'm keen on this flipping drop bit on it. I'd rather a smooth transition, I think. So I'll try that with this one, see what it looks like. And if it looks good, I'll maybe do this one as well. In fact, I might just leave that one so that I can see it finished and see if I made the right decision by rounding it. So they have to go to heat treatment as well. And any others? Not yet, no. So that's where we're at with this one. This is the one that we're doing. These have yet to go to heat treat. I'm not going to drill holes in these handles. I will drill holes in these bigger ones. I'm not going to drill holes. I might drill a few holes, like 2 or 3 in here. Maybe a couple of the small ones, since I'm drilling them anyway. It won't do any harm, put it that way. So I'll do that. But bevel grinding this afternoon. We'll get it to that. Okay, I'm yet to grind the bevel in this one, but in the meantime, I'm going to make another 2 templates. I'm going to make another one of these. I've basically just traced it around. And I'm going to make a small skinner, which I've kind of based on this. slightly, but with a different handle, because I just feel this handle, I made this handle this shape because that was the shape of the steel stock that I'd left. So I'll make it a bit wider. I mean, there's nothing wrong with this handle. Fits in the hand fine, works away fine, but it's just something different, isn't it? So what I'm going to do is now is I'm going to cut these out, template them, and then I'll just grind all three of the bevels at the same time, because what I find when you're grinding bevels, you need to get into the zone. You know, if you do just one knife and then you come back like a week later and do another knife and then come back, they never turn out as well, I don't think, because I think you get a feel for it when you're doing like 3 or 4 knives at a time. So I'll do this one, cut these two out and drill them, and then they'll all be ready to go to heat treat. So that'll be what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Get more steel stock over here. I've got some 40mm ABL, 30mm, another one of these 30mm ones. I've got some, this is SF100 as well. I've got the 40mm AEBL. I've got 2 bars of that, and a 50mm SF100 for kitchen knife. I was going to make some skiing doos, but I've got about half a dozen skiing doos, so I'll try making something that might sell. So Gralloch knife and a skinner. Surely somebody wants one of them out there. High quality item. This steel is the same kind of steel that they make razor blades out of. It's high quality stuff, and it takes an exceptionally sharp edge, and it keeps an edge for a good while. It's also a tough steel. It's only 3mm thick, but it's extremely tough. And 3mm thick is more than thick enough for processing deer, to be honest. If you had it any thicker, it would just get in the way. You know, it would just be too bulky, and this is a good size for getting in about and doing the business. Right, so I'm going to cut these two out. I'm not going to bother filming it. I'll come back when I'm doing the bevels for all 3 of them, okay? Ciao. Okay, I've ground these 2 knives out. This is the little skinner. I'll put some file work up the top here, just to give you something to hold on to whilst you're skinning. You know, I think it looks quite cool. It's just a round file, and I'm flipping slitting disc in a grinder, to be fair. But you have to have a bit of control in the grinder. You don't want to go, it's very easy to go too far, you know. This one here on the right needs to go just a smidgen further down. The other 2 are pretty much spot on, so I'm happy with that. Give the blade a clean up. I also narrowed down this part of the handle. It's quite wide and thick in the hand, you know, so I decided to take a bit more off it, so that's good. And this is the other Gralloch knife I've made. I'll template it today. It's not so much of a step here as the other one. They're all different, you know, but it's not too bad. I'm quite happy with it. Bevel to this, bevel to this, and bevel to this, and then heat treat. These arrived, well, not all of them arrived today, but some of these arrived today from the land of the rising sun. As you can see, I'm quite fond of the white liners. This is just liner material. I've got yellows, purple, red, green, blue. I've used quite a few already, to be fair, so I had to restock. And I also got some more handles. One of them I really like. Pow, how's about that? I do really like that one. Got that from Ground Flat stock. And I also got a couple of others. This is a pistachio micarta. I got 2 of them, and I got a red one, red micarta as well. I tried using some other stuff. It's not micarta. It was I can't remember what it was called, to be honest, but it wasn't that great. And when you drilled it, the holes would enlarge, you know, as you drilled through it. So I wasn't too impressed with that. So I won't be using it again. And I've also got my mother of pearl there, blue ice, kerinite, and some orange and various other colours down here. So I'll maybe short a handle material. I've also got a load of wooden ones underneath there as well. So I won't be short a handle material. Right, I'm going to conclude part 1 there, and we'll come back to part 2 once they've been heat treated. I've yet to grind the bevel into them. Hopefully end up with something similar to that sort of height for a kick-off, maybe slightly higher actually. And like I say, I'll send them off for heat treat, and then I'll send these off with it as well. I did take the tip down in this one. I think it looks better for it, to be honest. I just took the edge off it so it wasn't like such a drop point. It's more like a curve. Quite like it. So we'll see what it looks like when it's done. I left the other one the same. So that's part 1 of the Gralloch knife build. Hope you've enjoyed it. Hope you've maybe picked up some tips here and there, hopefully. And be grateful if you put a like down the bottom. And subscribe, motherfuckers. Subscribe.